They asked her if this was the spiciest version of herself yet. Aaliyah Boston just smiled and shrugged. "I like spicy," she teased, then waved it off. Quiet, steady, do what the team needs. And yet, in the very next breath, she told you exactly what this Indiana Fever season became: a posture, not a persona. A choice to be dominant in whatever form the night demanded. If that reads as spice, so be it. What matters is that the Fever just authored a 94-65 demolition of the Mystics that wasn't only about a scoreboard. It was a statement, a survival story, and a playoff ticket punched in permanent marker. The road to that moment looked nothing like the hype videos. Half a rotation gone. Caitlin Clark, out after just 13 games with a torn groin. Sophie Cunningham sidelined. Khayla, Khloe, BBI. Done. Sydney Colson out. Aari McDonald finished with a foot injury. 5 contributors erased from a team that hadn't even settled into itself yet. 18 players have worn a Fever jersey this season. 18 more moving pieces than a rebuild usually survives, much less a playoff push. If you told anyone in May that Indiana would be clinching a postseason berth in late August, you'd have been laughed out of the gym. But they kept showing up. They kept stacking possessions and small wins, tightening the screws until doubt didn't have room to breathe. That's where Stephanie White earned every syllable of Coach of the Year chatter. Instead of chasing ghosts, she simplified. Fewer reads, cleaner spacing, rotation rules that travel. She leaned into what was available, not what was missing. The message never changed. Be flexible, be accountable, stay together. It sounds corny, until you watch it pay off in real time. 10 hands moving as one on a third-quarter string, a bench unit snapping into place like a second starting 5, a group that's had 7 different teams worth of lineups still hitting the same notes. Most rosters fracture under that kind of attrition. Indiana seemed to grow roots. The clincher in DC told the story better than any quote. The first half was a tug of war, tight angles, contested looks, a Washington crowd sniffing opportunity. By halftime, the tension was real. Then the Fever stepped on the air hose. 9 third-quarter points for the Mystics. 9, and every one of them felt like a pry bar against a vault door. Passing lanes closed. Matchups were hunted and smothered. Indiana turned 22. Washington turnovers into 27 points the other way and coughed it up only 6 times themselves. You could see the lead balloon in real time, past 10, past 20, peaking at 33, the kind of gap that tells you it's not just a hot night, it's a better team imposing its will. And look who led the imposition. Natasha Howard, relentless at the rim, finished with a game-high 17 and made Washington pay every time they tried to live small in the paint. Aerial Powers came off the bench like a blowtorch, 15 points, 6 boards, 4 dimes, refusing to let the energy dip for even a possession. Lexi Hull played like a rumor you can't shake, on the floor, in the passing lanes, then suddenly at the rim. Shea Petty went a flawless 3 for 3 from deep and walked away with 13. Even on a night when Kelsey Mitchell's shot wasn't singing, she found double figures and steadied the backcourt. 5 players in double digits. That's not a star system. That's a culture. At the center of it, literally and spiritually, stood Boston. Another double-double, her 17th of the season, a franchise record. 41 for her career in just 2 years, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, a team best plus 29. But those numbers only sketch the outline. The truth is in the flow. The way the Fever's best basketball keeps arriving when number 7 is on the floor, the way a possession calms when she touches it, the way a defensive stand hardens when she calls the coverage. She tracked misses like radar, bodied Washington out of driver's lanes, and turned hot potato into layups with clean, quick passes. Without Clark, this was never just about replacing scoring. It was about replacing gravity. Boston became the center of the system and the identity, the anchor that lets everything else rise. And when it was over, her words echoed louder than the horn. Never doubt yourself and what you're capable of, no matter what happens. You could feel that mantra humming through the locker room. No posturing, no delusion, just a calm, collective belief forged the hard way. They laughed, they exhaled, someone joked about not making a TikTok, and then Boston flipped right back into leader mode. Enjoy this, then get ready. Tuesday's next. Then the playoffs. Joy and business, held together in the same hands. That's the quiet genius of what this team has built. The Fever didn't simply survive the injuries, they used them to expand their margins. Hull and Petty took on roles nobody projected in June. Powers and Howard provided veteran ballast and edge. Mitchell sharpened as a closer. Boston's voice grew fangs. White and her staff kept making space for new faces, for new responsibilities. For a standard that didn't move even when the roster did, the result is a group that can plug and play without losing itself. And the payoff is tangible. Back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time since 2015-2016, a winning record, and at least one home playoff date at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the first time in nearly a decade. Make no mistake, the bracket won't be kind. Round 1 possibilities, Atlanta, Las Vegas, Phoenix, are all landmines, and the best-of-3 format puts 2 games on the road. A lesser team would flinch at what's coming. Indiana won't. They've already taken games off each of those. Opponents with this short-handed rotation, they are harder to scout now. 5 can score, 5 can guard. The game plan can shift by quarter without losing cohesion because the organizing principle is simple and portable. Defend, value the ball, run with purpose, play with joy. No single player has to float them anymore. Instead, 5 or 6 can. Lift them in waves, and here's the twist no one expected in May. Maybe the injuries were a crucible, not a curse. Maybe 18 players suiting up forced a depth the Fever would have needed next spring anyway. Maybe Clark's absence, gutting as it was, gave space for Mitchell and Boston to own playoff reps as first chairs, for Powers and Howard to reassert. Veteran authority for Hull and Petty to prove they can swing series. When Clark returns in 2026, she won't be dragging a roster up a hill alone. She'll be joining a group that already knows how to win ugly, win short-handed, and win together. That's championship DNA. That's how a window opens. So the question on the floor isn't whether Indiana can hang without their superstar. They just did. It's how far this version can carry the standard they've been preaching. Compete to the standard, prepare to the standard, scare the hell out of the league. They've earned the right to believe every line of it. They're not done? Boston made that clear. The clinch was a checkpoint, not a finish line. The playoffs demand another layer of focus, another gear of physicality, another 2 or 3 minutes per game where the possessions get razor thin and the whistle gets tight. But this team has already lived inside thin margins all season. Pressure won't shrink them, it built them. If you're fired up for the postseason, drop Fever playoffs in the comments. Who's your X factor for round 1? Powers' punch? Howard's force? Hull's chaos? Or another Boston masterclass? Do you think this balance is the Fever's secret weapon? Or will someone have to go nuclear for a series win? Tap like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of this run. Whatever happens next, Indiana isn't sneaking into anything. They're walking through the front door together.